Recall race, voters head to the polls a week from today for the historic recall election for governor. We have invited both Mayor Tom Barrett and Governor Scott Walker to join us here on Live at Daybreak.
Governor, first to take us up on that, and he joins us this morning. Governor, thanks for being here.
Good to be back.
Well, let me start with something that Tom Barrett has been saying, the mayor of Milwaukee has been saying in a lot of his campaign rhetoric, that you have started an ideological civil war. And I want to get into that a little bit because I remember Governor Jim Doyle was in office for 8 years. Did a lot of things during that time that Republicans didn't like, that you all fought. Yet it still didn't come to tens of thousands protesting at the Capitol. It didn't come to protesters getting hauled out of legislative session, and certainly didn't come to this recall. So how about it? Is there some accuracy in that statement?
No, I mean, I think this is really a desperate statement from a desperate campaign. I mean, think about all the things they said this was about our reforms, they don't talk about because they're working. $1 billion worth of savings documented, property taxes down for the first time in 12 years on a median valued home. State has a $154 million surplus. And most importantly, we documented that we created jobs last year and we're creating jobs this year, more than 30,000 jobs since we've taken office. I think the irony is the only candidate who wants to go back and replay that whole debate all over again is the mayor. He said during the primary he told the voters there he was going to go back and restore collective bargaining. Well, that would take us back through that whole debate all over again. We want to move on and move forward, and I hope a week from now people will see that and hopefully cast a vote for me and for Rebecca Clayfish.
I would like to ask you about this allegation or suggestion that you signed recall petitions for Senator Cole and Senator Feingold back in the 1990s. I know you said you were quoted in the paper saying you don't remember whether you did or did not, which is remarkable to me given the fact that you were a state lawmaker, a politician who could not remember whether he signed a recall petition or not. Does that sound believable to the voters?
Well, I pointed out that I didn't think I did, but I couldn't remember. So it's as simple as that. 15 years ago, somebody asked me to sign. I don't believe so, and I think the organizers you saw in the paper said they didn't believe so either because they would have made a big deal of it, as you mentioned. But 15 years ago, I don't remember. What I can remember, though, it's interesting that the mayor brings this up as a topic. I think it's a sideshow because they don't want to talk about the failures here in Milwaukee or my reforms and how they're working. But the better comparison is from 10 years ago when the mayor's friend Tom Ament was county executive here in Milwaukee County. The mayor and others refused to say anything, even as we learned about the incredible pension scandal in Milwaukee County. I was the only elected official in the beginning of 2002 who stood up and said he'd take on Tom Ament because of the pension abuses, because of the pension scandal. And subsequently, Tom Ament resigned from office, and then obviously I was elected in a special election after that. But it's interesting, he wants to go back 15 or more years to talk about something that really wasn't a big deal at the time. I'm glad to talk about things in the past, but let's talk about who was willing to stand up and take on, in this case, one of his friends who was doing the wrong thing.
I want to give you an opportunity to answer to another of the mayor's claims, particularly an ad that is running repeatedly on our station, and that is that the suggestion that there is a bunch of emails from your office in your time as county executive that you are somehow suppressing the release of. If you did nothing wrong, which you have said that you didn't, why not just say, okay, here are the emails, here's everything, and everybody else decide?
Of all things, Tom Barrett, who's a lawyer, and a lawyer should know, I'm not a lawyer, but a lawyer should know that when you're involved in helping out an investigation like this, you can't by law. I'd be violating the law. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution, all the laws there within. I'm not going to break the rules just because of some political pressure from our opponents. The interesting thing, though, in this morning's Journal Sentinel, there's a story about those emails, and for all the hype, this is not me talking about it, but read the article. People should read the article themselves. It shows that for all the emails and talking about those seeking county contracts for lease space, in the end, my administration didn't award a winner to anybody and instead consolidated space at a county building, existing county building, and saved the taxpayers money. So for all the hype out there, the irony is in the end, none of the people who wanted the bid won. And in the end, we saved county taxpayers money.
Have you met with the prosecutors yet?
Well, again, it's one of those. We asked, almost 2 years ago, my office asked for this investigation. At the time, we were concerned about a volunteer program for veterans that we saw some concerns with. We asked them to look into that. They have. And as part of that process, they've asked us, as part of the rules that are involved with that, not to talk about the details. So until they give us the green light, we're going to continue to follow those rules.
We just have a few seconds left, but I do want to ask you this. All the polls have you up about 5 points. That seems to be about the average. But the interesting number therein is the undecideds are so few. 5%, one poll had it at 2%.
Right.
Are there still votes out there, do you think, to be won or lost here in the last week or so?
Yeah, I think so. I met a woman the other day in Sheboygan who introduced herself to me and told me she was a Democrat and said she was voting for me. And I said, well, you haven't even heard me talk yet. She goes, well, it's not what you say, It's what you do, and the fact that you were willing to take on the tough problem. She said, even if I don't necessarily agree with everything you've done, she told me she appreciated that there was finally someone in office as governor who's willing to take on those tough issues. And those are the people I'm appealing to, saying, don't we want politicians who think more about the next generation than just the next election? And that's what I'm aiming to do, not just in the past, but with the vote and people on June 5th. I hope to continue to do that.
I want to ask you quickly about these jobs numbers. Even if we used your campaign's claim about 30,000 jobs created, you're still nowhere on track to create 250 if you are to win on June 5th. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, 250,000 by 2050. There's a compounding effect. First thing you got to do, I mean, remember when Vince Lombardi took it? Well, you don't remember. None of us remember when he took over the Packers. But for those who can think back in time, the year Vince Lombardi took over the Packers, the year before they had been 1-10-1. He didn't take them to the World Championship the first year. He took them several years after, and he built the foundation for success. We took a state that prior to my election had lost more than 100,000 jobs, had an unemployment rate of above 9%. We turned it around last year. We gained jobs in 2011. In the survey that every economist agrees, including one that gave money to Tom Barrett, all agree is the better number. And we're gaining jobs in 2012. The biggest single deterrent, we went from 10% of our employers 2 years ago think we're in the right direction to 94% who say the same thing now. What they've said repeatedly in those surveys is their biggest concern is the recall. They don't want to go backwards, they want to go forward. I think you're going to see a massive takeoff, and I think why they're concerned is they see unemployment here in the city of Milwaukee went up 28%. They don't want to go back to those policies, they want to go forward.
All right, Governor, well, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck in the coming week.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we also invited Tom Barrett. Again, we want to share this with our viewers. We invited Tom Barrett to come on to our show. So far, his campaign has not accepted our offer.
All right, more ahead here on Live at Daybreak this morning. A Milwaukee alderman wants to make a change to the city's drinking water.
We're live in Mequon with breaking news this morning. An SUV drove right into a house late last night.